All right, welcome to this presentation of Golden Years Lifestyle. And it's not just about options for your future, but at the end, we are going to be launching the book, Golden Years Lifestyle, that Margaret has authored. So we're pretty excited about tonight. And we wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about ourselves. Margaret?
Well, thank you, Mimi. So basically, I am a woman who is single, and I'm a mom of two grown-up, beautiful girls. Originally, I was born in Africa, and my parents went there after the war from England. And so I was raised by my African nannies running barefoot on Mother Earth for the first number of years of my life. And I think partly when I went to boarding school as well when I was little, this started something in me as to this is great. Something's really happening. And so as I ventured on in my life, I ended up going to other boarding schools as well. And the idea of living together with a group of people was great because in boarding school, you know, you don't know anybody at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, you're best friends. And when I left high school, I traveled across Canada and ended up living in Victoria, BC with my girlfriend, and we lived in a home with 13 people. So it was quite the adventure there too. So this is what started the idea of Golden Years Lifestyle a long time ago. I'm a realtor, have been helping people buy and sell homes now for 40 years, and an author now. Thank you. I'm so excited about this book. And basically, that's it. I love to walk. I love to read. I love to write. I love my little dog. I have great friends and family, and I love what I do every day.
Why don't you share with us a little bit about what inspired you to create Golden Years Lifestyle and the whole concept of co-living?
Well, it started about 20 years ago, really, when I would get together with my girlfriends and we'd all joke and say, you know, in our golden years, we should all live together. And that thought never went away. And then 10 years ago, I became divorced. And at that point, I'd been living on my own ever since, loving it. I love being on my own, but I realized that there's much more to life than just, you know, I like coming home and having a glass of wine with my girlfriends or cooking a meal together and talking about what happened in the day. So that's basically what happened. And then just through the years, helping people buy and sell homes, I see a lot of seniors sometimes reach a point where they think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I've got this big house. I love where I am, but I can't handle it anymore. And then they think about what are the alternatives. And so that's basically why I am where I am. And I just want to help as many seniors come together like myself and create new chosen families. That's what happened. And that's how I
Awesome.
started.
Thank you, Margaret. And I decided to join Margaret's team because I live a purposeful life. I live to impact peace on the planet. And I discovered in that journey that when people have inner peace, the world has outer peace. And as I too am above 60, I also realized that if I don't create a community for myself of like-minded people, I am I may not get to continue to fulfill all my life's purpose. So I created a vision for myself of creating a community of like-minded people that support each other and I call us elder professionals. And when Iffy introduced me to Margaret, I knew that our visions were just so similar that I had to join the team. I'm an entrepreneur supporting other entrepreneurs to be the best that they could possibly be in my company, the performance coaching team. And I have a fabulous, juicy relationship with a man and a pussycat. So that's just a little bit about me. Iffy?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Iffy Kazim, and I have been a business coach and consultant since 2006. So I've come across a lot of different businesses, a lot of experience working with different types of businesses. And in June of 2019, when I first met Margaret and she introduced this idea to me, I was really taken by it and about how great this idea was. And I jumped right in and started working with her from that point forwards. And we haven't looked back since. So a little bit about me, I'm married. I have a 7-year-old son. We live in Toronto, and my husband and I do this business together. So we love what we do, and we love helping people like Margaret make their dreams come true.
Awesome. Thanks, Iffy. And Pat, we are hoping that you could share with us a little bit about you, if you can get your microphone working.
Is there a chat component to it, Mimi?
There is a chat component. If you want to put something in the chat, that would be awesome too. I suspect that Pat might not be technologically savvy, and that's part of the challenge we're having with Zoom and all the other kind of stuff. Okay, so Pat, we're going to assume that you're a wonderful person who is looking for an alternative to your golden years, and we're going to share with you what's available and what's possible as we go forward.
So, what is the future of seniors in Ontario? So, currently, there's 3 million seniors in Ontario. They're the fastest growing group of people, and it's projected that by 2041, 25% of the population of Ontario will be 65 and over. What's interesting about seniors today is that they're not like the seniors of 30, 40 years ago, where they sat knitting in their rocking chairs and retired early. Today's 65 plus people are active. They're actively participating in every facet of life. And the older mindset no longer exists. They're really young at heart, young at mind, young in how they approach life.
And I still knit.
I crochet, so there you go.
I kind of do that too. Sometimes when I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
So we know there's lots of concerns for the future, and some of them include being alone. How am I going to manage on my own? Losing your independence. If you're in a facility, you don't have the freedom that you had, eating the food that you like, wanting to remain active, having a social life. And then there's all kinds of activities that, that you might want to do. How do you do them? How do you maintain your health? What does getting older gracefully look like, and what does it mean? How do I remain safe? What processes and structures do I have to put in place? If you have a spouse, it might be a fear of leaving your spouse behind and having them be alone. There's like so many concerns for the future that elder people have. And Pat, if we were able to hear you, we would ask you what yours are. But we're gonna move right along, and we know that they're there.
So when we look at what alternative choices we have as we're aging, we sometimes are in a fortunate position where we might have family and friends that say, gosh, why don't you come and live with me? And so that happens, and that's terrific if that would work out. Now my kids, God bless them, Mom, come and live with me, as you get older. Well, that's lovely, but they have their life, and I kind of think, well, I don't really want to infringe, but at the same time, I realize that they're not going to want to worry about me a lot. So, but as I said, we can live with our family and we can live with our friends. Another one is long-term care facilities. These ones are wonderful in that they are government run. You know, they our government looks after us as best as possible, but there is a downside to it, and that is, for myself speaking personally, a girlfriend of mine, her parents both died this year, actually, both being in a home. She couldn't visit them. But it was more than that. It was just a little things like no air conditioning in the bedroom. And I thought, I need air conditioning because that's something I really do need. Anyway, so living in a long care facility, you know, you're subjected to lots of people that you don't really know. Sometimes you don't want to get to know them, and it's busy. You know, it's very loud, it's busy, it's hustle, it's bustle. So, but there you go. I mean, at least it's somewhere that you can go. Then the other is retirement residences. Now, this is a little bit different in that it's wonderful if you have the money. My girlfriend's parents, we originally moved them into a very wonderful high-end residence, and they started out paying $6,600 a month. By the time 2.5 years went by, they were up to $14,000 a month, and that was because they had to change them to different floors because the father had Alzheimer's and he was wandering, and it just, you know, more care, looking after the parents and what have you. Even though they were doing less, they were just sitting, but the money still kept on going up. Not everybody's in a position financially to pay $10,000 or $15,000 a month, or even $6,000 or $7,000 a month. That's a lot of money. And so what happens is, in the case with my girlfriend, eventually she did get them into a long-term care facility because they needed more help. But basically, the financial advisor for her parents said, you know, if your parents stay living here, you're not going to have anything left at the end of the day because the residents will, unfortunately, you know, the income that your parents put aside for you will have to be used to look after them. So that's a big concern, but they are lovely. I mean, they're terrific if you're at the right point where, you know, if you want to do different activities and what have you, although not now, everybody's in the same boat. We're all having to ask, you know, we're all being asked to stay in. We're not able to travel. We're not able to go on buses and go for rides. So there we are. And then the last is shared home ownership. And this is what I'm offering. I'm offering where we can come together, 4 or 5 of us. We buy a home together. We live in it. I'm going to be putting in an elevator so that down the road, we don't have to worry about walking up and down the stairs. I'll put in extra bedroom and bathroom and kitchen downstairs so that, again, down the road, we'll have long-term caregiving available to us. We can share the cost. And then living together, we all have our own bedrooms and bathroom and you know, closets and what have you. So we can have our private space. And then depending on the property and how large it is, I'm hoping that there's going to be a room that we can set up as a little library or quiet room where we can go and meditate. You know, I'm looking at putting in a greenhouse in the backyard so that we can have all year round vegetables. And, you know, we could have a cold room downstairs so we can start a larder, so we can start, you know, saving up our food for the colder months and this type of thing. And so basically what I'm looking at is we're coming together in safety in numbers. We're not on our own. So if somebody falls, there's somebody there to help and pick us up. And in terms of the cost, well, living on my own, I'm responsible for all my costs, the taxes, you know, for my heat, hydro, electricity. Now I am in a condo, so a lot of that is included in my maintenance fee. But if I were still in my home, I'd be responsible for looking after the lawn, you know, making sure that it was cut, and then making sure that the snow is shoveled in the winter. So a lot of us that are still living in our homes because we love living in a home, we don't want to give that part up. Here's an opportunity to live in a home, a beautiful home, you know, a $2 million home, and we all share. My corporation will be looking after handling in terms of looking after the upkeep of the property outside. I'm going to hire staff to come in every couple of weeks to make sure that the house is kept clean. I love a clean home. And all we really have to do as housemates coming together is to cook meals, enjoy setting the table, enjoy washing dishes and talking about the day's adventures. and then perhaps maybe kicking up our feet and just watching a nice movie together. So that's really what I'm offering with these homes. And I'm really looking forward to, well, one day, hopefully, Pat, maybe we can connect by phone. So, and we can talk about this a little bit further, or you can send an email, but we can go from there.
Awesome. So I know we're not going to hear Pat's if she has any questions, but I did want to say a couple of things. My father is in I think he's in a long-term care facility. I can't remember which one in Montreal. And because of the pandemic, so the first round of the pandemic, he wasn't allowed out of his room for 3 months. So I don't know if you can imagine a bedroom that's filled with furniture. So there's very little walking space, not allowed to go anywhere. He's not allowed to go out. So the furthest he gets to walk is from his bed to the washroom and back. So that's the first thing. And the second time around, they're under lockdown again, and they are not allowed to, if my brothers go to visit him, they're in Montreal and I'm in the Toronto area. So if my brothers go to visit them, then they can only see him, not even in the lobby, in the doors. They're like double doors. One opens on the outside and then the next one opens in the lobby. In between those two doors for a maximum of 10 minutes. That's it. So, I mean, I'm glad they're safety conscious, but it's not a way to live, not interacting with people. I think that it's really important to interact with people. I know sometimes we don't want to see people. I'm not talking about those times, but it's important to be able to connect with people as we age. I think it's a really important thing. That's the only story that I wanted to share. And the other thing I wanted to add, you were talking about kicking up your heels and watching a good movie with a glass, let's add, with a glass of wine.
With a glass of wine. Doesn't have to be every night. Every other night is okay with me.
Doesn't have to be every night. I think I'd like to move on to the book launch part of this presentation, because we were going to have you read a chapter in your book that really says why
choose to co-own?
Right. Why choose to co-own? And we're launching this book today, so it would really support Margaret becoming an Amazon bestseller if you purchased it today as you were listening to her read. And that's the link on the screen. We're going to leave it up for you. Margaret, do you want to start your reading?
Sure. So this is basically chapter 6 of the book. Why would a 55 plus young-minded person choose to co-own? Well, the number of Canadians who are seniors and who are going to be in their 70s or older in the next decade is close to 10 million people across Canada. And where they're living now, and where will they be living in their golden years? That's the question. I have discussed the seniors' homes and the luxury residences as far as the cost. However, I feel another area is more important. And this concern relates to giving up the freedom to make choices, such as when we want to eat our meal, where, what we want to eat. We have the ability then to, of course, as I was mentioning before, setting the table and preparing the meal. And most of all, most importantly for me, and that is to have a hot meal, come to the table. So what is forgotten when living in an institutionalized establishment is the fun of something as simple as setting a table together. And as a group, with one or more member of the household, this is why I think living together is absolutely fantastic, because as I said, we get to enjoy it together. Washing the dishes, tidying up, and then after the meal is fun because you're not having to do it alone, and also we get a chance to talk about the day. Going out for food, for instance, as an example, that could be fun, or we could choose to have it delivered, by a supermarket. And it means that we get to make the decision ourselves. So sharing a home together means that we can watch TV and we can enjoy choosing the shows that we want to watch and when we want to watch it. There's something to be said about living among a few selected people in a house rather than in an establishment where an employee makes most of the decisions for us. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And the activity, time schedules, the meal times, the menu planning, all must be thought out and scheduled well in advance. The cost of the food or the percentage of the food waste must be factored in. And this price is reflected when the amount paid by the individual is worked out. The activities are planned according to the needs of the majority of the home. There is not much flexibility as there would be in a private home. How could there be? So living in a privately owned home, knowing that your name is on title and having the freedom to make choices is a more rewarding than being looked after, in this case, sometimes locked down in a residence. The experiences are quite different. One is not better than the other. A privately owned home with fewer people is quieter. Also, if you are worried about what will happen to your spouse. So here's an example of, let's say you're married and you decided the house is too big. Well, here's an alternative. So this is a great option to make sure that you'll be looked after and not alone. Knowing everyone intimately is more comforting than most of us. So another consideration as we age is how we feel about ourselves when we are no longer have a purpose in life. And this is what I think Mimi was mentioning also too, in a way. When we're on our own, we lose the purpose. Where what is the point of living, especially if you're in your room all by yourself? Oh my gosh. Many older people I speak to live day to day and not really doing very much. Yes, they may go out occasionally and they may visit the senior centers and enjoy the company of their peers. They may get together with their family. However, many admit that they suffer regularly from boredom. If they live alone, sometimes they lose their motivation to experience new things. Simple things like cooking themselves a tasty meal. It becomes more of a rarity rather than a normal daily habit. Speaking from experience, when living on my own, it's tough. When we live on our own, in our own home, how often do we have our friends over for a family meal? How many times do we invite a friend over to watch a show or play a game of cards? Looking into the future and looking at what other people experience living together will be, for the long run, it'll bring out the best of us. So if you currently own your home and you wonder where are you going to invest your money once you have sold, Golden Years Lifestyle Home may be an option. Reinvest in yourself. Own your shared home.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think that answered a lot of questions. And I think also that there's a whole pile more questions. So I'm gonna share with Pat some of the ways that she can connect with us. So the first thing you can do is you can go to goldenyearslifestyle.ca, visit our website, and float around there. You'll see all kinds of different things that will share with you what this opportunity is all about. The second thing that we recommend is to buy the book. And that's the link. It was the same link as before. Margaret read chapter 6. You can get all the other 12 chapters because it's a 13 chapter book. And it's filled with resources, stories, all different kinds of things. And it'll really support you in making an informed decision because you'll get all kinds of different ideas. And then the third way is to reach out to Margaret to explore further whether this is a match for you, whether it's a match for you now or in the future or somebody you know. Either way, reach out to Margaret. Her email address is info@goldenyearslifestyle.com. So we're going to leave that up there for a few minutes. Sorry, .ca. I apologize. .ca. I'm going to leave that up there. I know, Pat, we have your contact information because you had to, we had to send you the email with the link. So we know we have your email, and Margaret may reach out to you after this, since we didn't get a chance to talk to you and get to know you and hear any of your questions. We want to make sure that you don't have any questions that were left unanswered. Anybody else have any final words or anything that they want to add before?
Well, I was just going to say to Pat, if you wanted to call me, Pat, directly on my phone, 647-896-3488, anytime.
Okay.
I think
Awesome.
we already
Perhaps say it
spoke
again.
briefly Anyway.
Yeah.
Say it slowly.
Sorry, Margaret, say it again slowly, just in case she needs to jot it down.
Well, I think I've already spoken to Pat, but anyway, it's 647-896-3488. And it is on my website as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you so much, Pat, for coming to the call tonight and making it. Really appreciate that you came. I hope you got some of your questions answered. Excuse me. And I hope you have more questions. Excuse me. And that you continue to explore the opportunity and the possibility of co-living.